I know. It's boring. This is old school meditation, back to basics meditation. The only technology that we're using is the breath and the mind and the mantra. All within the perspective and the context of being in a body with a mind, inhabited by, enlivened by the breath. The tool and the technology, the resource of mantra to help us focus. This is the practice from which all other practices and experiences spring. But it's hard, Melissa. I don't want to sit. I sit in silence and I don't want to see what my mind is doing, right? The mind, it drives me crazy, right? You have to see what's there. There's a lot of information there. It's really important to get to know your own mind, to get to know your own self, the qualities, the moods. Well, I'd rather just, put on some headphones and listen to some binaural beats or some frequency music and have someone else guide me. That stuff is all fine, okay? That stuff is fine. But on some level, it's like an amusement park ride. It's like an escapist route. Just pause, okay? Just stop. We're going to get into all that stuff. I'm going to be producing guided meditations with underlaying soundtracks, we'll get there. We're going to be talking about quantum jumping and timeline shifting and manifestation. We're going to get deep into all that stuff. But first, step number 1. This is really important. You have to see what's in there first. What is in there? What are you trying to escape from? What do you want to timeline shift away from or into? Okay, in order to do all that stuff, you first have to discipline the mind. You have to focus the mind. Everything follows from this point. Everything comes from this practice. I know it's boring. I know it can be really frustrating and even sometimes terrifying, especially if something is happening in your life that's upsetting for you. You sit down to meditate and you're just churning out all the stories, all the memories, all the associations, all the meaning. He did that, she said this happened, oh no. My ego's all riled up, my defense mechanisms are all full force coming online, right? You can slip beneath the waves of all that activity using the mantra until at some point in the future, after you've been practicing, after you've been putting the time in on the mat, right? Showing up, sitting down, focusing on the breath, the in-breath. Hum on the out-breath. Delighting in that precious space of stillness after the breath has finished its exhalation. Oh, such a wonderful spot. Love it so much. Get comfortable inside your own body. Learn how and practice taking a step back from your own mind. You are that awareness that watches the mind. Feel free. This is for you and no one is watching. Okay? Make whatever movements you need to make. Settle into a balanced posture that's comfortable, right? So that you can sit for a long period of time, increasing the amount of time that you sit, building up your stamina, allowing yourself, your body consciousness to drop away, noticing what's happening in the mind, not engaging with it, right? But bringing your attention back again and again and again to the mantra, to the breath. Ascending above, dropping beneath, stepping back from what's happening in the mind. All the emotions, all the stories, all the interpretations. You'll start to notice how the mind creates worlds upon worlds. And then it gets lost in them. It gets trapped by them. That's actually a scriptural stanza, right? The mind creates worlds upon worlds, and then it gets lost in them. Sometimes it gets trapped in them. Okay? By focusing the mind, you're sharpening the edge of that sword. Okay? Use the sword of the mind to slay the mind, slay the dragon of the mind, the untamed, undisciplined mind. It can take you to hell, right? The focused mind can take you anywhere you want to go. But first, you need to practice focusing the mind. Disciplining the mind until that magic day. I know magic is kind of a loaded word. That miraculous day, and miraculous is a word too. When you notice and you experience, you have the experience of those voices, all those competing thought streams, all those stories, the frenzied activity of the mind becomes one mind, collapses into one mind. Right? That's when the mind becomes mantra. That's when the mind becomes really powerful. And the space between the words starts to become wider and wider. And you can drop in or float above. At will. You have grace and the blessing of your own heart to allow yourself to be pulled into meditation, right? There's a kind of wooing that happens, right? Once you get used to this practice, once you make a decision that you are going to start practicing meditation, that you are going to discipline your mind, you are going to enter in this process of discovery, you are going to see what is there, what it has for you. You are going to take that first step, and you are going to show up, and you're going to do the thing, right? There's a stirring in the heart, right? There's a draw inward. And there's different ways that we can approach this, okay? Many people say, you pick a time of the day when is good for you. It could be first thing in the morning. It could be at the end of the day. Evening is a wonderful time when the light is shifting, when times are shifting in the outer environment, is a wonderful time to turn within. I used to, at the end of a day of work, I get home, I sit down, I meditate. Get home, you do whatever you need to do. You sit to meditate as the light is fading, it's so wonderful, it's delicious. Same thing in the morning, as the light is coming up. It's a wonderful time to meditate during those transition times. Your body gets into the habit, you start to expect, right, this is when I meditate. That draw to turn within will become stronger and stronger. So on the in-breath, hum on the out-breath. Noticing the space at the end of the exhale. Noticing that gentle upheaval of the breath being drawn back in. This very sweet, gentle space. We learn to sit with ourselves. If you're having a hard time focusing on the mantra, then just watch your mind. Get to know the content of your mind. Get to know what's really going on there. We're going to go deep into how to use that information, the content of your mind, the thought streams, how you interpret things, what you believe, what that voice is telling you. Those voices, right? Because quite often it's multiple competing thought streams. Worlds upon worlds. I'm going to use that information to go deeper, to get clear. I'm going to source it in the body. Everything has roots in the body. The human body, it's miraculous. It's a phenomenal carriage that we have here, that we are moving through this world in. The mind. The mantra. The breath. Everything is there. You can source and access all states through the breath, through the mantra, through the mind. You don't need all that other stuff, right? Breath, mind, and mantra, those are amazing technologies. You're accessing your own conscious awareness, right? Tapping into the power of your own consciousness as expressed through the mind, through the disciplined mind, through the self-aware mind. We're going to be creating a magnificently powerful state and existence through this practice. Okay, step one is putting the time in, right? Spending the time sitting, getting really comfortable, entering this state, which shifts your brainwave patterns, accesses the parasympathetic nervous system, shifts the neurochemistry and the biochemistry of your body. All these complicated concepts and experiences that everyone's talking about these days, it all comes down to breath, self-consciousness, consciousness of your own self, consciousness of your own state, your own inner environment, the content of your mind. And spending time working on it, focusing it. It's a lot to do. A lot of places to go. It's going to be a lot of emotion. A lot of delight. Keep tuning in. Getting to know your way. Becoming really familiar with the quality of your own self, your own heart. Layer by layer, moment by moment. I hope you'll continue to join me.